No management, no game plan, no idea of how the boxing business works. Disaster on the horizon, potentially for Francis Ngannou. I'm going to go through all of the red flags that I noticed during his interview with Ariel Helwani. Welcome back to the anti-Ngannou fan club. I'm joking, but it feels like that nowadays because I'm just saying the things that no one else seems to be saying, and someone definitely very soon needs to be saying to Francis Ngannou. I'm going to play you guys the audio and the video of his interview and just point out some moments that were very confusing to me, where it seemed as though Ngannou doesn't really understand what he's getting into at the moment, okay? Very good move, earning your freedom from the UFC, but I'm going to take you guys through some of the red flags that I noticed and talk about them as well as this video goes on. So we start straight away, 26 minutes and 40 seconds into the video. Let's get into it. Listen up. Hopefully you can hear this.
Do you believe them that they are going to waive their matching period? Have they told you this in writing? Do you believe that they will actually stay true to this?
Ariel is talking about the matching period that is a part of all UFC contracts. It is a period of time where, for a certain amount of time after the contract is over, with a fighter like Ngannou right now, they can choose to match the offer of anyone else who makes an offer to Francis Ngannou. So if Ngannou gets an offer from PFL, the MMA organization, the UFC have the right to match that offer to sort of really hinder the actual freedom of Francis Ngannou to go and take that offer from the PFL. A lot of people don't know about that, and Ariel just asked Ngannou about it. Does he know about the matching period, and if the UFC have waived it off, and if he is actually free? And this is Ngannou's response to that question.
I don't care. They can match if they want.
So, he doesn't care. They can match if they want. So you're not free then. It's not just an I don't care. It's a real thing in the contract that you really need to pay attention to before you start making these terrible relationship decisions with the UFC. We move on further into Ngannou's answer.
Or try to match.
Or trying to match.
Right. So,
and then Ariel like pushes on this, like, hang on, you don't know about this? Like, this is what it is.
but like, I'm just wondering contractually, like, let's say today I'm a promoter and I give you this incredible deal. Do you still have to bring it to them, or is all that good? Like, are you truly not bound to bring anything to them and sign with someone today?
So Ariel's like, no, seriously, this is a real thing. If I'm a promoter and I try and give you an offer, can I actually go to you with the offer, or do I still have to go through the UFC, who can decide to match it or not? And Ngannou's response.
Well, I think he said that publicly, which means because he didn't say anything to me though. They didn't say anything to me. I received an email from them with something attached. I haven't even opened that email yet. Yesterday, so
we maybe have an email. They haven't said anything to me about that. Like, it's just, there's more to this. There's like, he doesn't have a manager for the boxing negotiation. There's some real red flags here with how Ngannou's choosing to like move his career and maneuver his career moving forward here. Maybe they sent an email. I haven't checked the it's just like, dude, this is a very important thing that you need to really have a clear understanding of.
Oh, wow.
I haven't.
Oh, wow, says Ariel Helwani just there. Oh, wow. Oh, you haven't even checked the anything about the matching period. You don't know about it. You haven't read into it or received anything. You know, it's like Ariel is even questioning, like, hang on a second. Are you sure you understand what's going on here?
Yeah.
Why?
Like, look at the awkward energy.
So.
Oh, wow.
I haven't. Yeah.
Why haven't you opened it?
What do you think is going to be? But I read the message.
It's like really awkward. Like, why haven't you opened it? You really should consider opening it. Hopefully you guys can see Ngannou as I'm doing this. Maybe I should move myself a little bit smaller here just so you can see the face of Ngannou in the corner of the screen. But this is like a really real thing that Ngannou needs to understand if he's going to continue his negotiation, and he hasn't even opened it or read it or really seemed taken back that that was even a thing. What's that even going to do?
Why haven't you opened it?
What do you think is going to be? But I read the message. I read the...
Very interesting here. From Ngannou, he kind of seems stumped by that.
The email,
Yeah.
just the file. I download the file, and while it was downloading, I move on to something and haven't read
Okay.
it.
So he hasn't read the file. He downloaded the file on his computer, but then went off to do something else, because you know those emails that you download onto your computer that take hours to read and download onto your computer. Maybe he's in Cameroon and the internet isn't that good, but that seemed to really take him back. Like, huh? What did you say? Matching period on my contract that the UFC still have control over me with. What? Like, it was like a really awkward moment in the interview, and we can go forward to some other moments as well. And these are moments no one's talking about, where it's like, I'm worried for Ngannou here. He could get really messed up. Speaking about really getting messed up, we skip forward to this moment in the interview as well. Listen up.
As of right now, you also don't have a manager, it seems. Why?
Ngannou doesn't have a manager during this period of time where it's probably the most important thing in the world to have a manager right now.
Why have you chosen to do this on your own? You were with Markel Martin, who, you know, by all accounts, had your back and fought for you, maybe at the risk of his own career. He still does, yeah. But correct me if I'm wrong. He's not technically your manager. Like, you're the one doing all this stuff.
Basically, Markel Martin, his former manager, is no longer his manager. He still just like gives Ngannou friendly advice from the sidelines at this point, despite not being the official manager of Francis Ngannou. So they're still in contact as friends, but Ngannou doesn't have a manager right now, guys. Which is just very... I'm going to hold back language. It's very interesting as a move to make during this, the biggest time you could ever possibly need a manager for. And he doesn't have one.
Why are you attempting to do this by yourself? And I don't mean by... I know you have people behind you, but like manager type of role, trying to negotiate these deals for you.
Why are you trying to do this by yourself?
Well, you know, after CAA dissolved the combat sport department, and we kind of like spread everywhere, and I wanted to take time to collect my stuff, and that's, you know, I've been looking.
Are we sensing a little bit of like, hang on, maybe I don't have a good answer for this? Are we sensing a bit of like Ngannou not so confidently speaking in these moments in the interview when brought up something that someone really should be telling him? You know what I mean? Like some really important things that he hasn't really considered, and all of a sudden, all of the confident speaking about being free from the UFC is no more, and it's time to think and I'm kind of all over the place at the moment, and I'm not doing this to hate on Ngannou. I hope someone sees this and gets to Ngannou, because there's so many red flags in this interview, and other management companies and other promotions are going to see Ngannou in this state, and they are going to take advantage of him. You know what I mean?
You know, I really want a manager, and
Oh, so you want a manager? Okay. Look how he's like asked about, so do you think you can actually do this without a manager? And we've got 30, 40 seconds of I want a manager. You know, like, it's like, has this not been in consider? Who's been talking to this guy throughout this entire situation? Has this not been in consideration? You'd think at this moment on the biggest show, he'd have these answers like, boom, boom, I'm going to do this and this. And it's like, this is the first time he's even been asked about this.
The environment right now, the situation right now is really complicated.
The environment and the situation right now is complicated. And you can even see on Ariel's face, he starts to lose a little bit of hope for Ngannou at moments in this interview. Like, there's moments where Ariel's smiling the whole time as Ngannou's talking about Dana White and the UFC. And then there's moments where he asks these questions where there's a look of concern on Ariel's face.
After the CAA, Markel wasn't stable, you know, like.
And he talks about how Markel, his manager, wasn't stable after situations with the CAA. And then they're still like talking to each other as friends, but he's not his manager right now, and he goes into that. But we're going to move on to another moment here, which is at 42 minutes and 52 seconds into the interview. I feel like I'm the only one listening because all of the comments are like, man, what a hero. He's really sticking it to the UFC. It's not about the UFC, and I think that's what the problem is with a lot of these media members and people that are in the comments supporting Ngannou. You're not supporting Ngannou. You know you're not. You want against the UFC. You're happy that the UFC is maybe in some way suffering from this. Like, I'm the one caring for Ngannou here, which is a crazy turn of events. Because the comments just seem happy that something bad is happening to the UFC right now, rather than being happy for Ngannou's situation. But they're disguising their happiness for Ngannou's situation, which is in reality just a disdain for the UFC and a happiness at their bad situation in the UFC for losing their heavyweight champion. If you're really listening, this is worrying to listen to. We move on to another moment, which is at 42 minutes and 52 seconds. I'm going to have to skip forward a little bit here. Give me a second. Let me go to half speed so I can skip forward at half the interval. Oh, God, I'm such a genius at YouTube. We're back to full speed. Here we go.
Do you feel as though you need a manager to make this next decision, or do you think you can do it on your own, like representing yourself, basically, taking these calls, making the deals? Do you feel like you can do it on your own? Do you understand enough now about the fight business? You said you've learned a lot to do this on your own.
So do you think you need a manager, or can you do it on your own? Negotiate with the best, most vicious promoters in the game. Eddie Hearn, Top Rank. You know what I mean? These guys at boxing that are known for corruption and doing people dirty for their own financial benefit. The kingpins of MMA promotion as well. Can you handle this on your own, Ngannou?
I can do it.
Nice.
I know what I want. That's enough.
Is it enough, though? I think you need a manager, dude. Eddie Hearn's a ruthless man. If you want that AJ fight, the Fury fight, Eddie Hearn is a ruthless man that will take everything from you if he can possibly do it. He will find a way to ruin you financially and make it seem like it's good in the short term for you and trick you. Eddie Hearn, as funny, haha, out of context Hearn he might seem, is a ruthless businessman and a genius in that world. So it's not like, I know what I want, so that's it. No, you need a real team around you here, dude. You're literally, it's not you working with Eddie Hearn, it's you versus Eddie Hearn in these negotiations. You're taking him on to try and get what you want.
So what do you want? Could you tell the world, Francis? There's a lot of people watching now. What does Francis Ngannou want? What would make you happy?
Let me go back again. What do you want, Ngannou?
Francis Ngannou want? What would make you happy?
Oh, I'm happy though. It's not like I'm unhappy.
Sure.
I'm happy.
You're happy?
I'm happy.
Okay.
I'm in peace with my choice, with my decision, with whatever I have done. You know, I'm happy.
Okay. What's the move?
But I think I just need some respect, more respect at least. You know, it's very important. Yeah, and
Okay, so we're going into the Eddie Hearn negotiation and asking for some respect is what we're asking for. Thank God. Thank God. Like, we know that.
yeah, I need some respect. You know, some dignity. I need some freedom. I need to feel like a man. You know, own my freedom, control my destiny, decide what I'm gonna do. You know, I don't want anybody to decide for me. I think I'm man enough. I've been decide for my own, and so far, I think I have been, I haven't been doing a bad job at all.
Mm-hmm.
So
Do
I will go with
you climb the
it.
mountain?
It's just all general, and then so far I haven't been doing a bad job. The most controversial ending of a business agreement in maybe the history of combat sport. Like, so far, I'm not doing a bad job. The most controversial, confrontational, bitter dispute between a fighter and a business ever in combat sports history. Maybe, at least in recent combat sports history, it's not going well so far, you know? And I mean, he wants respect from Eddie Hearn in a negotiation room and some of the people that he's going to be contacting. We move forward to another moment, which is at 45 minutes and 27 seconds. Hang on. 45 minutes and 27 seconds.
That's
Yes.
what you wanted, right? So in a
Yes.
perfect world,
In a perfect world,
you box, but you also compete in MMA, and that's part of the freedom. Is that fair?
in a perfect world, you box, but you also compete in MMA, which is part of freedom. Is that fair?
Yes, in the perfect world, I go out there, get some boxing match, come back, get some MMA, maybe switch again. I
Mhm.
don't know. It depends what will be the challenge out there. I think if I have an opportunity to fight all those top guys in boxing, I will take it.
Has
So, this is where I have a problem with Ngannou's game plan. Boxing promoters want the same thing from you that UFC want from you. They will want exclusivity. They will want a multi-fight deal from you. That's how it works in boxing. AJ's been with Hearn since he came into the pro scene. So he got scouted from the Olympics as an amateur in boxing by Eddie Hearn. You know? This is just how the game works. Fury's been with his management for a very long time. They will not just say, okay, yeah, come fight our guy and then dip. They will want something from you. And that something will be a multi-fight deal. Oh, you want to fight AJ? Fight Dillian White first, says Eddie Hearn. Oh, you want to fight this guy? Hey, we've got this young prospect. If you lose to AJ, can you agree to fight him as well so we can get something out of this? Rather than you just stepping in to boxing as a UFC fighter and just taken from us and we don't get anything out of it other than one big money fight. That's not how they're going to work. They're going to want some exclusivity. They don't want him jumping. Eddie Hearn's not going to take Ngannou jumping between boxing his guys to PFL, to Bellator, and then, oh, I'm back, Eddie Hearn, to box another top-level boxer. They're going to want something. That's just how it works in boxing and how it's always worked. But the way the media has said it over the past few years is like UFC is the only one doing this. Exclusivity, loyalty through contracts that are long-term and for multiple fights. And I think there's a very small chance this goes where Ngannou wants it to go. I hope it does. There's a very small chance of it. There's more to this part that I want to listen to, though.
Has anyone since Saturday of note, promoters, promotions, reached out to you?
Has anyone reached out to you of note?
Yeah, a lot of people reached out.
A lot. Is it overwhelming?
I can control it. I can control it. I don't have a pressure now. It's not like I have to give a response now, but I can control everything.
Okay, and are these MMA promotions and boxing promotions?
MMA and boxing promotions?
Mostly MMA promotion.
Mostly MMA promotions, which I believe means not Eddie Hearn, not Top Rank, not any of those guys. You know what I mean? So maybe some really pathetic boxing promotions, like maybe Jake Paul's thing or Misfits Boxing, maybe with him versus Greg Hardy in a boxing match. Maybe they've reached out. But mostly MMA means not the big dogs of boxing have reached out to him yet.
Okay, interesting.
Okay, interesting, Ariel's saying.
And I have also heard over social media of their interests, you know.
So how are you going to navigate this? What is the game plan now?
What's the game plan? How are you going to navigate these options?
The game plan, where go somewhere that respect
Right. But
that.
are you feel
Right, but with the game plan, Ngannou, hello here. There's a lot on the line you could be taken advantage of. The game plan, Ngannou, not why. Somebody will respect me. It sounds like we're like coaching a baby through this. No disrespect to Ngannou. It's his third language, I get that, but even Ariel's starting to feel it now in the interview. A guy who's very pro Ngannou here. Alright, I know that, but like, what's the game plan, Ngannou? Like, there's got to be something here.
right? But are you fielding offers? Are you telling everyone like, okay, I'm giving you a window by February 1st. I need your offer. I need to see what you're talking. Like, it's like the world is your oyster here. It's a crazy thing. It's like LeBron James circa 2010. You can do whatever you want.
Like, Ariel's trying to get it across to him. Like, dude, this is the moment. Where's the moves from you? Where's the planning? Where's the manager that you should have doing all of this for you right now in the heat of everything when your name is top of the news? And Ariel's trying to get that across, the magnitude of this situation compared to how Ngannou's reacting to it.
Well, it's been only 2 days, and
Right.
I don't have to get overwhelmed. Like sometimes I just turn off my phone, sit down and chill.
I really, the way he describes the sequences here, I get an image in my mind of Ngannou sitting at a table on his laptop with his phone out, trying to manage all of this on his own. Whereas there should be like 5 most trusted people around him and advisors at all times during this time period.
Nothing would be. Everything can wait, and you can deal with everything over time. Like in 1 week, doesn't matter what happened, you can deal with all those. So it doesn't need to be the same day.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on to another moment. 49:05 on the clock. Hopefully this isn't too long of a video, but I just want to get my message across here, guys. 49:05.
I don't know. We will figure it out.
Do you have an ideal first boxing opponent? If boxing is next for you, is there one guy in particular that you think makes sense for the first boxing match?
Tyson Fury or Anthony Joshua.
Wow, wishful thinking. The 2 top dogs of boxing. The 2 very biggest names are who he's going after in the boxing world.
Okay. So the guys at the top.
Yeah.
Have you talked to Eddie
Yeah, I
Hearn,
did talk.
who's Anthony Joshua's promoter?
Have communications with Eddie Hearn, one of the biggest promoters in the game of boxing, probably the most, maybe not in terms of the depth of his roster. Well, actually, he's got Canelo with him, so maybe even still that. He probably is the biggest promoter in the world of boxing, at least at face value as well, because of the personality that he is. Has Eddie Hearn reached out to you? Think about this. If Eddie Hearn, I know this was said. Surely, I have an image in my head that this was said. What do you mean Ngannou's a free agent? And then someone says Ngannou's a free agent with the UFC. Well, I have an email on his desk by Monday. You know what I mean? That's what Eddie Hearn most likely said to his team. Reach out immediately to Ngannou by Monday, but we haven't heard anything from Eddie Hearn. So have we heard anything from Eddie Hearn and Ngannou?
Not yet.
Okay. I remember.
It's been
I know.
been 2 days.
It's been 2 days, but listen to what Ariel says.
He's a bulldog.
But, he's a bulldog, and look at Ariel giving the side eye to someone off camera on his show. Like, no message from Eddie Hearn, Like, he gives that a little side eye to someone as he said he's a bulldog, if you look at this.
I know, but he's a bulldog. I remember one time he tried to do a press.
Looking over at someone off camera, like a little look to someone on his team, like he's a bulldog. No message from Eddie Hearn here. Like, Eddie Hearn immediately was saying to his team, get me in contact with Ngannou if he was that interested. And I can maybe hear an imaginable world where there's a scenario where Eddie Hearn says, what the fuck do you mean he don't have a manager? You know what I mean? I can hear those words coming out of his mouth. Get me in contact with his manager on Monday. Well, fuck do you mean he don't have a manager? What the fuck are you talking about? You know what I mean? I can hear him saying that. He don't have a manager. What? He ain't a retard, is he? You know what I mean? I can hear that from Eddie Hearn. Like, what is going on in this situation? I'm really worried for Ngannou.
Conference, I think, with you and Dillian White, and then they had to cancel it, right? Didn't he try to do that in the beginning of the pandemic?
He was an interview.
Yes.
Remember what I said about not getting AJ straight away? Not getting Fury straight away. They'll want you to do something for them first. Wasn't there something in a while ago during the pandemic where he wanted you to do like a little bit of a interview / press conference with Dillian White? Another signee of Eddie Hearn's promotion. He's going to want to get something out of this. Before you get to the Anthony Joshua fight, here's Dillian White first. He already tried to set it up with you a while ago. You versus Dillian White. You know, here's Dillian White first. And he tried to set up a press conference / interview type situation with Ngannou back a while ago that Ariel Helwani just brought up to him. Like, surely you've heard something. He tried to set up something with you before.
Yes.
I don't know how it turned out to be a press conference,
Right.
but I did an interview.
Right.
Yes, but we didn't follow up about that.
What about
It was just
Deontay?
an interview.
Sorry, what about Deontay Wilder? That seems to be a name that is thrown out a lot. Is he of interest to you? You didn't mention him.
Here's what I want to talk about, where it's a bad situation for Ngannou again, because you're entering a world in boxing that functions, and people don't talk about this, very similarly to the way the UFC does their business. But it's just not out in the open like the UFC's business is. Because UFC's kind of like the target right now. You know what I mean? But listen to why Wilder can't fight Ngannou right now, and that isn't a name on the top of his mind.
No, he's interesting to me. But I think the thing now is his position, where he's at his contract and everything as well. You know, so that's the problem. So some fighter out there have a problem. They're engaged somewhere with somebody that.
So he's talking about Wilder basically facing the same problems that Ngannou is facing with the UFC, or was facing with the UFC. He's talking about Wilder, the boxer, facing pretty much the same problems in his contract, where he needs to do something for someone and he's got obligations in his contract. So that's not something for me right now. You know what I mean? Like, he's entering that world though. A similar world that functions the same way, that's not going to let you just jump in and jump out back to fighting Ante Delija and Ryan Bader after giving you a massive payday against AJ. The reason why these boxers get paid so much is because they are loyal to their promoter. Eddie Hearn pays AJ so well because he knows AJ's going to give him 10 fights over the next 4 years, 5 years. He signs Canelo to a 10-fight deal. You know what I mean? It's like there's not anything registering here.
Gonna go through them. So, yes.
And he's got to go through them, as in the team that are signing the contract of Wilder.
Okay.
But primarily, Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, then yes, Deontay Wilder.
It just seems a bit weird to me. 51:04 on the clock. Let's see if I can get this time down. My mustache hair is curling up into my face.
And I was wondering was, out of the UFC in MMA, is there anyone out there that interests you in MMA heavyweight? Like,
this is a problem that I was talking about. Are there any big MMA heavyweights out there outside the UFC for Ngannou to take on right now? Which is what he's trying to do, to try and generate interest and have some fights outside the UFC at heavyweight. What are these names that are of interest in the MMA world outside the UFC at heavyweight, Ngannou?
Like, are there any names that gets you excited? Because, you know, we're talking John Jones, Cyril Gane. These are top guys. Are there any top guys? That's the problem that I'm seeing with the other promotions. Bellator, PFL, ONE, those seem to be the main ones. Are there any top guys there that are of interest to you?
Well, as for now, I can't tell.
As for now, he can't tell. He don't know if there's any big names out there for him in MMA and the heavyweight. You know what I'm talking about with the problems here. This could go so badly for Ngannou. There is a universe out there, potential. And I'm not saying this is the one I hope will happen. But there's a universe out there where Ngannou fades off into irrelevancy and doesn't get anything that he wants from anyone. And the UFC's laughing at him in 2 years, pointing at him and using him as an example as to why other UFC fighters shouldn't pull this move.
But if if ever I go somewhere, we're gonna figure it out. You know, remember
We're going to figure it out if I go somewhere.
the fight come up every time. The landscape of the fighting business change all the time. When I fought Stipe, Sirigan wasn't in the conversation. He was John Jones. But guess what? The next fight that I was having was Sirigan.
And he talks about the changing landscape of the heavyweight division. But your whole move right now should have been based on this landscape. Should have been based on the current landscape of the other MMA divisions. And you reference Cyril Gane as someone who changed the landscape of his division and rose up out of nowhere. Where did he rise up at? The UFC, because they scout the best heavyweights and they get all the best heavyweights because heavyweights at lower level in the UFC are actually paid pretty well.
And he was technically the best in the world at technically the landscape of the moment.
Changing landscape of the moment. Okay. 52:47 on the clock. I'm sorry, guys, but there's so many of them that I'm worried about that I think more people need to be worried about. This is where Helwani kind of loses contact with Ngannou.
I have no problem.
Okay. And just curious, as far as boxing is concerned, do you want to do that on your own as well, or are you trying to link up with a promoter there? You know, you mentioned you don't have a promoter, you didn't have a promoter. Are you trying to link up with one of these promotions or promoters, or do you want to do it solo, like Francis Ngannou Promotions?
That sounds good. Francis Ngannou Promotion sounds good.
Okay, so you are interested in that as well?
Maybe co-promote? Yes, of course.
Okay.
Why not?
Yeah.
He's going to figure it out on his own, guys. He's going to start his own promotion with all those millions of funding that he's got. And he's going to compete as that promotion with the existing promotions in boxing that have hundreds of millions at their disposal, guys. McGregor was McGregor and he worked with the UFC, with McGregor Promotions to get paid what he did. You're going to go it alone, Ngannou, without the money McGregor has, without the funding from the UFC and the support from the UFC as a billion-dollar business. Ngannou Promotions with Eddie Hearn, the boxing promoters are licking their lips and horns are growing out of their head at the thought of Ngannou making these moves, is all I'm going to say.
Okay. And yeah.
Isn't it a good idea?
Sure. Why not? I mean, you're the...
Oh, no, dude. That's the saddest I've felt for him in this entire thing.
And yeah.
Isn't it a good idea?
Sure. Why not? I mean, you're the man. Like you said, baddest man on the planet.
It's like he's babying him. Sure, why not? Isn't it a good idea? Sure. Why not? Yeah. You're the baddest man on the planet. Like, didn't it feel like that? We're asking, isn't that a good idea, Ariel? What do you think? We need a team of experts surrounding Ngannou right now before he gets completely ruined by the boxing industry. And has all... Think about the wrongdoings of the boxing industry and how much people they've done wrong. And he's just going to wander in. Of course, Ngannou Promotions is in the building, and it's just Ngannou with a notepad in the negotiation room.
What is your gut saying? Like, do you think we see Francis Ngannou compete in anything? July, June, May? What are you feeling at this point?
Hopefully somewhere the latest will be July. I would say so.
Okay.
Hopefully. So at least twice this year.
So he talks about his comeback being in July. That's when he wants to fight next. First of all, it's quite a bit of time away. It's 5 months away. He says latest to July, but I think that means around July. You know what I mean? Maybe June earliest, who knows? When do you think McGregor's card's going to be? The UFC wants to make an example out of Ngannou. The UFC wants to make an example out of Ngannou, everyone. He's left the UFC. They want to make it look like he made the biggest mistake possible, and they don't want him to succeed outside the UFC whatsoever, guys. I swear to God, if he comes back in July, guess when McGregor Masvidal's going to be? Same weekend. Who else is going to be on that card? O'Malley, perhaps? Pimlet as well? On the same card? If it's in June, what's going to be on that card, guys? Oh, you know, just Adesanya Pereira too. With a bunch of title fights on the card as well. Nothing to see here. Hey, maybe it'll be Jones Miocic if Jones beats Cyril Gane. If Jones loses to Cyril Gane and wants to redeem himself, maybe it could still be Jones versus Miocic. When do you think the UFC is going to put a blockbuster card on? Whenever Ngannou's going to be fighting. And they're going to plant it on the same weekend. And they're going to hog the pay-per-view buys of that weekend. And they'll win. Am I the only one saying this? It feels like everyone's treating him like a big baby. Like, yeah, good Ngannou. Yeah, go against the UFC. God, you're the baddest man on the planet. And Ngannou's just sort of like... He needs a team of 10 geniuses. Where's his manager? Where's his help? This could be the worst thing ever. It could be the best. Maybe Fury does him a favor and goes, you know what? And we talk about him fighting Fury. People forget about this. And I'm sad I've saved this till the end of the video. You might not be able to get AJ straight away because Eddie Hearn's already tried to make you versus Dillian Whyte. And he's already expressed that. And he's going to laugh at you if you come along with Ngannou Promotions over into the boxing world with no manager. He's going to eat you alive and take everything you're worth. That's what Eddie Hearn's going to do. And he's going to get something out of it himself as well because AJ, his big cash cow, ain't the champ no more. So he's losing a bit of money right now. And Canelo just lost to Bivol. And he's lost a little bit of hype right now. So Hearn's in need of a making of a money. You know what I mean? Hearn's in need right now of scamming someone for money and getting a good deal for himself with Ngannou. And then you look at Fury. Fury fight going to happen. He's fighting Usyk next. We know that. That's a massive fight for boxing. I think that's a bigger fight for boxing than the Ngannou-Fury fight. For the history of boxing. And for the boxing fans, they want to see Fury Usyk over Fury and Ngannou, I do believe. Unification of heavyweight, come on. And then guess who's the... Guess who Fury signed to? Top rank. Frank Warren. Guess who else is signed to Frank Warren, top rank? Joe Joyce. Who's Joe Joyce? The basically mandatory heavyweight contender that was also cage side or ringside with Usyk after the Fury fight against Derek Chisora, calling out Fury. Who's Frank Warren going to be loyal to? Joe Joyce is heavyweight contender that he's promised a title shot after the winner of Usyk versus Fury is crowned. That's also signed by Frank Warren. Or Ngannou, who wants to dip in and then go back to MMA. I'm not hating on Ngannou. I'm the only one caring about him. Like and subscribe. See you later. Goodbye.